Hello. What's up? What's up? Welcome to another stream. We're so far so good streaming every week. We've gone for 3 weeks so far. We'll see if I can continue to keep it up. Let me know if you can hear me. And let me know if the music is too loud. I might be consistent enough to actually announce somewhat of a schedule. What's up, Clay? How are you doing today? And yes, I can hear you. I'm doing good. Just kind of another relatively uneventful day, I guess. But I've sort of been procrastinating today. I'm gonna do the stream and then maybe try to be more productive later tonight. What's up, Watcher? You like my poster? Are you an Alabama fan? I certainly am. Fairly excited for the upcoming football season, which starts in like 2 weeks. Caterpie or Weedle? I guess Caterpie. Not the most knowledgeable of Pokemon, but I have heard of those too. Not a fan specific. I like the color scheme and sports in general. Fair enough. I agree. Me too. As an Alabama fan, I feel lucky that our team has good colors. It's got to suck to be a fan of the team, but have to admit that your color scheme sucks, or that like your logo sucks or whatever. Kind of got lucky in that regard. I know you're probably tired of comments about superhero stuff. I'm probably will never get tired of talking about superhero stuff. Do I have any thoughts on the negative reactions to the Ironheart TV show? I don't know. I don't really keep up with the reactions, so I wasn't even sure if people had negative reactions to it. But when it comes to superhero stuff, I've found that my views often don't align with the general consensus or the general critic view of of Marvel stuff or superhero stuff in general. I personally really enjoyed the Ironheart series. And disclaimer, I'm a little bit of a Marvel fanboy at this point, so they have to like go the extra mile to for me to really say that something they make is bad. I generally think most of the stuff they do is fine. I can only think of like one or two things that I would describe as bad. Not everything is like amazing, but I think most of it is solid. But I enjoyed Ironheart. Um, I think it actually has one of the better endings of the Marvel TV series. And as a black person, I tend to appreciate when they try to do black oriented stuff, and I think they did that. As good as a MCU thing might do. Not as good as they could do, because Black Panther is kind of a similar thing but better. But I sort of like the I like the idea of there being like a hood Marvel show. And that's something that I think only a certain type of person can appreciate. um, but yeah, Ironheart is not perfect, but I think it's fine. Am I watching Alien Earth? I am not. I don't know what that is. T1J been following you for a while. Cool. What are you doing for fun? How are things in Alabama? The main things that I do for fun are play D&D and sometimes video games. I've been playing. I got back into Overwatch. I don't know. Those that have been following me for a while know that have been and obsessed with Overwatch on and off since it came out. I play chess a little bit. And then just watching YouTube and stuff like that. How are things in Alabama? I guess fine. I mean, I think things in Alabama are as good or bad as things are in the rest of the United States, which I would generally describe as not great. I really appreciate your Boy Meets World and Daria videos. Thank you. What's the airspeed velocity? Velocity of an unladen swallow. Isn't that that's a Monty Python reference, right? African or European swallow? I don't know. Hood Marvel show, Marvel vs. Capcom, the TV series. Are you pitching that? If they did like a TV series about the Marvel vs. Capcom fighting game community, that'd probably end up being pretty hood. At least in the old days. That's good. It's so nauseating to hear a lot of people talk crap about this show. I'm glad you like it, because so have I. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think people have a superhero fatigue, I guess. I mean, that's a thing that people talk about. I don't really know if that's a real thing, but I think that's something that people use as an excuse to be a hater. But if we grant that superhero fatigue is a real thing, then I guess it makes sense that people will be like overly critical, or they'd be more quick to judge. But me, I go into things expecting to be entertained. I don't go into things ready to criticize. I don't go into things ready to hate it. And I think that's how a lot of people engage with media, especially Marvel movies. And I think people just when something becomes like super popular and kind of takes over, I think people automatically want to hate it or they want to find a reason to hate it. And that's kind of where Marvel's at right now. So they have to try extra hard to make stuff that people like. But I don't really pay attention to that. I just like what I like. Who's your Who's your Overwatch main? Um, Currently I've been playing a lot of Soldier 76. He's just easy and fun. But my favorite character in the game is Reinhardt, 100%. But I'm just trying to learn the DPS role right now. I also play a lot of Ashe, but I don't feel super good with Ashe yet. But I'm practicing. What's your current D&D character like? My current D&D character is the Dungeon Master. What's the cost of living in Alabama? Would you recommend someone move there? The cost of living in Alabama is very low compared to most places in the United States. Would I recommend someone move there? I mean, I guess it just depends on what you're interested in and what you need out of the place that you move to. If you like, if you like big cities with a lot of different stuff to do, then probably not. But if you like outdoors and hiking and nature, Alabama's good for that. If you don't like humid, hot weather, then no. If you don't like cities that are run or states that are run by Republicans, then no. So it just kind of depends on what you're interested in. Is D&D your favorite TTRPG? It's between D&D and Vampire the Masquerade. One of those two. But there's many that I haven't tried, so I can only go off the ones that I've tried. Random question. I'm from England. Is it true that you have to pay for an ambulance ride if you call 911? Yes, it is true. Yeah, I mean, healthcare is not free in America, unless unless you're old or extremely poor. But that's even those types of things. Who knows how long that sort of stuff is going to last in this country? And even the extremely poor part, that it depends on what state you're in. And it's a weird thing. I mean, it's just one of the many weird things in this country and one of the many weird things that humans do in general. Because in America, we guarantee emergency care to people. Like, you do not have to be able to pay in order to receive emergency care. Like, the emergency room can't send you away because you can't pay. But they'll still charge you. Um, do I have a favorite NPC in my current D&D game? Um, sure. I don't know that describing it would mean anything to you because you're not playing in the game, but I've I've had fun creating NPCs for the players. One of the more recent ones that they meant is this sort of like. So my current campaign takes place in the modern world on modern Earth. Um, and they met this guy who was he's kind of like this sort of like he's this uh I'm trying to figure out a word other than redneck because I think redneck is it's kind of offensive. But he lives in a trailer. But the thing about him is he's like this super like country conspiracy theorist guy. But since it's D&D, it turns out like all of his conspiracy theories are true. And he's just a really funny character and he's fun to roleplay. If you could move anywhere, where would you go? I don't know. I want to do research about different places to move. But it would definitely be somewhere that's not in the United States. Um, a country that I've been enamored with for a while is New Zealand, but I really don't know that much about it. Here's a bit of a political question. Do you think a black person should be fired for calling someone the N-word, the slang version? My coworker was fired a couple weeks ago for calling a white guy the N-word after getting frustrated with him for taking a lot of water bottles at my workplace. He didn't say it to him directly, just to his supervisor, but the white guy overheard it and reported him. Um, I mean, I don't know that the context of everything. I do think that a workplace usually has a level of sort of respect and decorum that is reasonably expected. Um, so I think there are some things that you probably should not bring into the workplace. So I could see that being a reasonable thing to do, but I don't know the full context. I think if I ran a workplace, I would try my best to make sure that everyone was comfortable and, wasn't saying rude things, regardless of whether or not it would be okay to say that in a different context. Like, it's not really about whether he said the N word or not. It's about was he insulting his coworker and bringing a negative, toxic environment to the workplace, which it sounds like he was. Have I ever played Trails in the Sky games? I have not. Camarilla, Anarch, or Sabat? Um, well, in terms of which one is the most fun to play, well, in terms of which one is the most fun to run, it's definitely Camarilla. I love Camarilla games. But within the lore, then obviously I would say the Anarchs are probably the closest to being correct, although the Anarchs are fucked up in their own way. But I love Camarilla games. Have you played Donkey Kong Bonanza? I have not. Is James Gunn top 10 directors of the last decade? I have no idea. I don't watch a lot of movies. The only movies that I watch are superhero movies, and James Gunn makes those, and he's pretty good at those. What's the best way to grow an audience? It depends on the platform. If you mean YouTube, which is what I would be the most knowledgeable about, the best way to grow an audience is to make good videos and learn how to make titles and thumbnails. Um, As for how to make good videos, that's kind of a whole thing. We can talk about that if you have more specific questions. I also wrote a book about it that you could buy on Amazon if you're interested. Um, as for growing on, the best way to grow an audience is to make stuff that your target audience wants to see. So if you make music, you you have to figure out a way to combine your music with something that people want to see, or to make music that people want to hear. So usually if no one knows who you are, your music is not what people want to see or want to hear, because they don't know anything about it. So you have to figure out, how can I make this appealing to people? You can do that by making like really interesting songs that are like um relevant to the to people, or relevant to the culture, and or something like that. Or you can make other types of content that then directs people to your music. Which edition of Vampire do you prefer? I've only played the most recent edition. I only recently got into tabletop games like 6 or 7 years ago. No, he wasn't insulting him. He said, "This N word is tripping. Plenty of my coworkers liked him and never created a hostile or uncomfortable work environment." I could see how someone saying that would make people uncomfortable. I feel like if I ran a workplace, I wouldn't want people to be talking like that in the workplace. I mean, you can do whatever you want, at home or when you're off or things like that. But in the workplace, I think there's a level of decorum that can be reasonably expected. I mean, if you have that sort of casual workplace, that's fine. I think some places do have. I don't even know what the job is, but I don't know. Have I played Baldur's Gate 3? Um yeah, a little bit. I haven't not played. I've never beat it. I haven't even really gotten past Act 1. I played a little bit of it though. Uh I don't know, the game is like a lot. It kind of like, it's very intimidating of a game for me. There's just like way too much stuff going on, which is weird to say because I play D&D, but I feel like there's more going on in Baldur's Gate than there is going on in D&D. And I don't know, like that sort of like heavy sort of inventory magic and having to manually shift through hundreds of spells and stuff, it just, I don't know, just messes with my brain and it overwhelms me. Would love a Vampire the Masquerade video someday. It's my TTRB of choice. We'll see. I don't know. That doesn't seem like it fits the scope of my channel at the moment. But you never know. If I come up with an idea that I think would make a good video. I wanna like play. I haven't played in a while. I feel like there was a period around the LA by Night days where a lot of people were doing vampire games and a lot of people were streaming vampire games, but it doesn't seem like it's happening quite as much. Um, Hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you. Any thoughts on Warhammer 40K? I've never played it before. I'd like to play it. I can't get my D&D group to play. They don't seem very interested, but that's fine. Um, usually, I think they usually have like setups and stuff at game stores and stuff, and maybe I can just go and check it out. Excuse me. I have a friend that's that's into Warhammer stuff. I don't know if he plays Warhammer 40K specifically, but he's like really into the lore and stuff, and he plays like the video games, I think, and the board games. I've been told to check out the video games if I can't play the board, the tabletop game. Some of my water went down the wrong pipe. But yeah, I love Vampire. I really like if the question was asked which tabletop game or which tabletop universe has the best lore and the best vibe, I would definitely say World of Darkness / Vampire. Which actually reminds me, I need to watch the latest episode of Private Nightmares. I haven't watched it yet. I want to play more. I've been thinking about doing some kind of like a tabletop channel or something, but I don't really know how to do that. I have to like find some people that would like actually want to play. And then like I actually don't think that watching people play D&D and stuff is actually that interesting. There has to be more to it than just a bunch of people playing D&D on Discord. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They think they watch like Critical Role and stuff and it's like, "Well, I can do that." But it's like it's not just watching people play D&D. It's like watching people who are entertaining and who are good actors play D&D. I guess you're right. As a black guy, I don't personally say it either. Maybe I'm just a bit biased because I liked him. The coworker that said it was my supervisor, if that makes it any worse. It's hard for me to comment because I just don't know the context of the workplace or the situation. And again, I don't think it's really about the actual word that he said. It's just, was it did he say something that contributed to making the workplace uncomfortable or hostile or whatever? Like, even if he said, "Oh, that guy's a fucking idiot," like I wouldn't want people to say that either. It's not necessarily just because it was the N word. At least for me, I don't know the reasons given in that situation. I don't really say the N word that much anymore these days either. I mean, I kind of do sometimes, but I used to say it way more. But I don't. I just don't really. It doesn't even really come to mind that much anymore, unless I'm like intentionally like joking around with friends or something. Have I ever played Shenmue? I have played Shenmue a long time ago. I used to love that game. I only played the first one though. Didn't they make a couple of them? Yeah, I thought that was like a really groundbreaking game when it first came out. I might still have it actually, because I have my Dreamcast and a lot of my old Dreamcast games. What is the circumference of a moose? Is that a reference? I don't know. Have I played the Cyberpunk tabletop game? I have not. I would like to check it out though. Bipolar gamer from last week. My girlfriend took me back after we talked things out. Thanks for listening. Oh, cool. Yeah, I remember that conversation. Well, I'm glad that there was a positive outcome. Hello, how do you feel about Bionicles, the Lego toy, or the movies or shows? I don't really know anything about Bionicles. I have heard of it before, but that's about it. I don't really know what it is. In the early 90s, I was the only white guy in the company I worked for. They were a black-owned business. My nickname was the N-word. Not sure how to remember it now, but I love my colleagues. That's interesting. Yeah, that's why I think knowing the context helps situations, because different workplaces are different. Like I used to work at a wing restaurant where everybody smoked weed all the time, and they would talk about like the porno that they watched that night or the previous night, and that's what people talked about at that workplace. But I've also worked in like a corporate office, and if I talked about porno, I'd probably be immediately fired. So it just depends on the situation for sure. um 1001 Johnny, thank you for the $5. Does it seem like black culture appropriates a lot of Asian culture, like martial arts and anime? I've heard Boondocks called anime, but it's not Japanese. Um, well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, anime could either be could be considered a format or a style, or you could consider it, any animation from Japan. So it just depends on how you look at it. I think it's true that Boondocks has an anime style, 100%. And I think everybody shares and appreciates and appropriates cultures from each other, including the example that you gave. I think all just like, there's black anime stuff and there's black martial arts stuff. There's also Asian hip hop music. There's Japanese appropriations of black culture as well. I think at this point, especially with the internet and the way that culture is shared, I think everybody is just appreciating and sharing culture with each other all the time. You haven't played Shenmue 2? They released 1 and 2 on PS4. I don't know. I've never played Shenmue 2. It's a really old reference to Ask a Ninja. Oh, I remember Ask a Ninja. That's an old school reference. Do you think kaiju are in the ocean? Will ocean monster eventually be our downfall, or AI? Um, um, I don't. I mean, probably not kaiju, but there's probably all kinds of crazy shit in the depths of the ocean. I mean, we've not explored the ocean pretty much at all, like only a little bit. So there's probably all kinds of weird stuff down there that we've never seen before. Kaiju, I don't know. I feel like if there were kaiju in the ocean, we'd probably know about it. Will ocean monsters be our downfall? Probably not. I mean, we will kill ourselves before any sea monsters do. Um, will AI be our downfall? I don't know. Probably not, but AI is gonna probably continue to cause some problems. But AI could also be, a huge boon to human life. It just depends on how we use it. But I don't really trust humanity as a whole to be responsible and ethical with something like AI. Have have I seen the One Day at a Time reboot? I have not, although many people have been talking to me about that. I guess I should watch it because it keeps getting brought up. Do you think you could apply your style of content to gaming? Do I think I could? I could, I guess. I don't play a lot of games though, so I'd have to start playing more games. But the thing is, I don't think the audience here is mostly interested in gaming. So it's something I could do, but it'd probably not get that many views. I do want to stream a little gaming though, which I don't expect a lot of people to watch, but it might be fun to do. So be on the lookout for that. Literally anything? Are you talking about ask me anything? Um Feel free to ask me anything. I should say that just because I think I answer like 80% of the questions that are asked. Usually it's because I miss some of them. But of course, if you ask something extremely ridiculous, I might ignore it. It just depends. But generally, I'm down to answer anything. I would encourage you to ask questions that you actually want to know the answer to. I think sometimes people ask weird stuff just to be weird, and it's like, even if I answer it, like, was it worth it? Was that amusing to you? I think people, when people ask like super weird questions and then it gets answered after, it's like that wasn't really worth it. I could have asked something more interesting. Um, I worked at a UPS warehouse. Yeah, I mean, that's fair, but yeah, I don't know what it's like to work in a UPS warehouse. I know sometimes warehouses are pretty lax and chill, but if you got fired for it, then maybe it's not that lax and chill. Uh, Johnny, thank you for the 5. Ever see Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad? It starred Matthew Lawrence before he was on Boy Meets World's Jack. No, I have never heard of that. I've never heard of that. That's interesting. Matthew Lawrence. I can't even imagine what that is. You started posting again? The Ask a Ninja guy? Thoughts on Abbott Elementary? I think I like it. I think it's gotten better over time. I remember watching the first couple of episodes and thinking that it was kind of just all right, but I think they've kind of found their groove. It really reminds me of Parks and Recreation, which is like in my top 2 favorite shows ever. So that's a good thing. I'm also really proud of Quinta Brunson because she's kind of like a peer because she started off as like a content creator. What is your best motivation to get back into the gym after a long time away? Um, I'm not the best person to ask because I don't go to the gym. I do work out, but I work out at home, and that's the reason why I work out at home because I knew if I needed to keep up with going to the gym, I would never do it. But I will say this: motivation is a trap. If you are waiting for motivation to do something, then you're already messing up. I think if you are waiting for motivation, and this applies to everything, not just exercising, it applies to work, it applies to being productive in most ways. Um, you need to reframe the way that you think about stuff. Um, if you need to do something, you need to just do it. So the secret to life is learning how to do stuff that you don't feel like doing. That's like this. Like if you get good at doing that, your entire life will change. So what you have to get into the mindset of I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Or I don't. Yeah, that's basically it. And I know that's easier said than done, but you got to shift your whole mindset. Ever played Jet Set Radio? I have played Jet Set Radio. That game is cool. It had a really awesome soundtrack. What is your favorite kind of foods? Um, my favorite individual foods are probably chicken fingers and fried rice and steak. But my favorite like genre of food is good old fashioned Southern soul food. Ask a Ninja started posting it. And that's really funny. I didn't know that. It was meant to compete with Power Rangers. Yeah, I can imagine that. I remember some of those shows that were meant to compete with Power Rangers, but I didn't catch that one. I remember like VR Troopers and Big Bad Beetleborgs, and there was another one where I think they were like medieval knights or something, but I never seen Samurai Cyber Squad. So form discipline instead of motivation. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's basically what it is. I don't even like the term discipline either, but I guess that's what it is. You just got to do the stuff that you need to do. I mean, that's pretty much it. And I guess that's what discipline is. So I don't know. I don't know. I think when you say something like you need to form discipline, it just sounds like a platitude, and it just sounds like to me discipline is as much of a buzzword as motivation. But I think technically that's what discipline is figuring out how to do stuff that you don't want to do. But yeah, you just have to change your mindset to where you not wanting to do something is not a good excuse for not doing it. Um, and I think, and I'm not even the best at doing this. I just know that when I'm good at it, when I do figure that out, just life is just a lot better. When I was younger, I was terrible at doing this. Like I was my goal in life was to make my life as easy as possible and to never do anything that I didn't want to do. I thought that that was like a good way to live my life. It's really not. It's a terrible way to live. You don't learn anything. You don't get better at anything. You're not very productive. Um, hey, just joined. Love your videos. Thank you. Just pulled pulled out my old Wii, and I'm trying to decide if I boot up Twilight Princess or Skyward Sword. Haven't played either in about 15 years. I think both of those games are good. I think Twilight Princess, I probably like that one better. Have you ever played the Devil May Cry games? If so, which is your favorite? I've played the first 3 Devil May Cry games, and I think the first one is my favorite. I haven't played any of the other ones. I kind of fell off the Devil May Cry games because I don't like Dante, the protagonist of those games. Like, that is the most obnoxious video game character of all time. What was your opinion on Sinners? I still haven't watched Sinners. I keep forgetting to watch it. What's your favorite horror franchise? My favorite horror franchise. I don't know. I'm not the biggest horror fan. And usually horror franchises include a lot of shitty movies. I'm trying to think if there's a horror franchise that I actually like. There are like individual horror movies that I like, but I don't know if I can think of like a full franchise that I'm like, I love this franchise. Mystic Knights. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's awesome. I truly was I was like halfway unsure if I just fever dreamed that entire show. What's the most sus anime you've ever watched? I think most anime is sus. At least most of the ones that I've watched. I haven't watched anime in a while though. The most sus anime. I'm not even sure what that means. There's a lot of anime that sexualizes children, which is pretty sus. Didn't the Power Rangers do a medieval spinoff? Probably. I kind of fell off Power Rangers after, like, I know they did ninjas. They did Power Rangers Zeo and ninjas and all kinds of other stuff. So I would not be surprised if they did a medieval spinoff. Did you ever watch The Amazing Atheist / Drunken Peasants? What are your thoughts? I used to love them when I was younger. Went back to watch his content again. I wasn't feeling it. I back in the old sort of new atheist days when I was really into like Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and stuff like that. I watched a little bit of The Amazing Atheist when he did content like that. But then he at one point he, like many of the new atheist people, he kind of transformed into this sort of like reactionary anti-SJW, as they used to call it. Now they would call it anti-woke, which is super cringe. I don't know if I don't think he still does that, but he had like a long arc where he did that. And I really fell off during that point because I thought it was cringe and wrong. But he may have like recovered from that, but I wouldn't know because I kind of stopped watching at that point. You can pay someone to discipline you if you're too lazy to do it yourself. Is that innuendo? It was made by Deke with tattooed teen alien fighters from Beverly Hills, while just about everything else made by Saban with VR Troopers and Mystic Knights. Man, you're like an encyclopedia of this shit, aren't you? That's amazing. That would be a good YouTube channel, just covering all those Power Rangers spin-offs. Or maybe a good YouTube video. Or not spin-offs, but like rip-offs and inspirations. Ever saw Brain Dead? Uh, I don't think so. What is that? Who's your favorite ship girl? And if she isn't me, where can I find her? What's a ship girl? Do you enjoy cheesy sci-fi B movies? And if so, do you got any really funny ones to recommend? I guess they can be fun. It just depends. I don't know. It depends. Some of them I can appreciate. Some of them I think are just like too bizarre to enjoy. But I don't know. I don't really seek them out, so I wouldn't be the best resource to like start recommending them. Trying to think if there's any ones that I have seen recently. I think like anything that I would have seen are like just like the popular ones, I guess. Because I mean, like, you know, like Starship Troopers is a cheesy sci-fi movie, but I think everyone has seen that, and I think it's been sort of reevaluated to be like kind of based. Have you ever been to a Black Con like DreamCon or Afro Comic Con? I think they're becoming more popular. I have not been to one. I would love to go though. Thing about conventions is they're usually pretty expensive, and it's hard for me to justify spending the money. I'm old, so I have expenses and shit. Sus anime usually means it's the kind of anime if one of your friends saw you watching, you'd probably be embarrassed and have to explain a lot to them. I guess I don't really have stuff like that though. I'm usually not embarrassed of the things that I like. I think there are probably anime that I watch that, or not anime. I think there could be anime that I might enjoy that people might be surprised that I enjoy, but I don't think that I would be embarrassed about it. Like some of those anime, what are the anime about what's the genre anime called about the girl who's like mean at first, but then she becomes nice? There's like a whole name for it. I think you know what I'm talking about. Um, and I watched one of those recently. I can't even remember what it's called, but I liked it. And I think people might be surprised that I liked it. Brain Dead is a political satire where aliens infiltrate the minds of politicians. Oh. Well, I see the satire. I've never seen that though. It's funny how everybody had an edgy atheist phase. I guess. I think a lot of people in the sort of political space, in the science space, just in that sort of realm, a lot of those people went through that. Because, you know, we were young and we were trying to figure out the world. Some people haven't left their edgy atheist phase. There was Power Rangers Mystic Force, but it was kind of fantasy, but also modern. It was weird. I remember that name. I don't think I watched it though. What do you think of the whole thing with the T app? What is the whole thing with the T app? That's the app. Oh yeah, that's the thing where people are complaining or like isn't it like for women to like warn each other about men or something? What's the I don't know. That I mean, the thing about the internet is the internet is bad and social media is bad and it encourages people to be shitty. And so something like that is just inevitably going to be abused. And I even before the T app, here's the thing: if y'all don't know, women are already doing this. So like, um, even without the T app, women are doing this. And it has the potential to be toxic. Like in my city, there's a Google Doc that gets shared around about toxic and abusive people, particularly men, but not just men. And I think it was a good idea at first. Um, but eventually people just started putting people's names on there because like, you know, this bartender was rude to me one day or this bartender didn't give me the drink that I wanted and so I'm going to put them on a toxic list, or people will just have a normal breakup with someone and then put them on the toxic list. So yeah, I don't know. I just think social media is bad, and I don't know if there's anything we can do about that. People just have to be better, and I don't know if I expect people to be better. Ultimately, it should be a good thing though, and I would hope that most of the time it is a good thing, but it definitely has the potential to not be. I liked Amazing Atheist until he went hard on the anti woke grift. In fact, I think he may have been one of the first YouTubers to do it. Yeah, I don't really know the timeline, but he was definitely one of the biggest YouTubers to do it. A ship girl, part naval warship. Oh, I think I've heard of this. Haven't you played Azur Lane or a Contact Collection? I've not played those. But I think I've heard people talking about ship girls, and which I guess that's par for the course. Thanks, man. That and Majora's Mask always stuck out. Amazed by how much I still enjoy playing the Wii. Punch Out goes hard. Also found my old copy of Super Mario RPG. All good games that you just mentioned there. Personally, and this might be just me being old, I don't think that they have made a better Zelda game since Link to the Past on Super Nintendo. I think Breath of the Wild was close, but all of the Zelda games are good. I think Zelda is among my favorite video game franchises. He did really hop on that Gamergate train and rode it all the way to the bank. Yeah, I mean a lot of people did. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much to say about all that. It was a weird time, and then I think it helped to normalize the sort of what has now become the MAGA cult, and it was bad, and it kind of ruined the world. I mean, that specifically didn't ruin the world on its own, but the whole Gamergate and anti-SJW movement was a big part of the catalyst that has led us to the situation that we're in now, and it's really bad. It sucks. And I know that a lot of people, including probably The Amazing Atheists have sort of moved away from that sort of content, but I feel like at some point you have to reckon with what the role that you played in creating, because I think even when he was doing this sort of anti-woke stuff, he always claimed to be a left-wing person. But you have to like think about your role in creating what we're dealing with. Have you or would you analyze the Spider-Verse films one of these days? I haven't at the moment. It just, I don't know. When I do like videos, I want to just say something interesting. I don't really just like doing generalized movie reviews. But if I find something very unique that hasn't been talked about a million times, then sure, I'll think about it. Pineapple on pizza. If there is a pineapple, if there's a pizza in front of me that has pineapple on it, I'll probably eat it. But I don't think that I would ever intentionally order pineapple on pizza. There's just better toppings. Do you think militant atheism needs to make a comeback now that Christian nationalism is destroying the separation of church and state? No, because the problem is not. Well, I don't know. I don't know what you mean by militant atheism. I think that the world would be better without religion, but the thing is we're never going to get rid of religion. I don't think that has ever been a reasonable goal for atheists. I think the issue is we just need to encourage people to be better, to be just people to be better, whether you're a Christian or not. But I don't know, when you say militant atheism, I don't know, that brings to mind some toxic elements of the atheist community, and I also don't really like the idea of atheism as a movement, because all atheism is the lack of belief in gods. Beyond that, atheists probably have a wide variety of political and moral views, and so I think it needs to be deeper than just atheism. Spinoff is the right word when done by Saban, at least. Is it Saban or Saban? I can't remember. I've seen a few videos tracking down shows that were inspired by Power Rangers, but I think it's too narrow of a well to peruse with the channel. Oh, yeah, maybe. It could make a good video though. Maybe someone's already done that video. Maybe I could do that video. Have you watched Dexter? I've actually never seen Dexter. I know a lot of people like that show. The Starship Troopers uniforms were actually used in Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Another fun fact. I didn't know that. Tsundere. Yeah, that's what it is. I wish I can't remember the show that I watched, and I don't even know how I could figure it out, as I barely even remember what happened. And also, a lot of those shows are so similar; it's hard to even search. Do you think it's unhealthy to be the bully in a relationship, i.e., you like to tease and insult your partner, but in an affectionate sort of way? It's only unhealthy if it's non-consensual. If it's consensual and not like consensual in a coercive way, but enthusiastically consensual, then it's fine. But you need to make sure that it's actually consensual. Like sometimes someone might go along with that just because they're not assertive enough to tell you that they don't like it. But I could totally imagine a relationship where that's just the dynamic that two people have and they're both enthusiastically consensual about it. Are you talking about me not having left my edgy atheist phase just because my profile pic is Sagan? I just like the guy. Cosmos wasn't a gift. I didn't even notice that that was what your profile picture was. I like Carl Sagan too, though. The thing about Carl Sagan was, he was like, he had compassion. He wasn't a curmudgeon like Richard Dawkins. Johnny, thank you for the $2. Soon today. Soon means hot. Dede means cute. Yeah, that's right. What do you think about Asmongold? I don't really watch Asmongold that much anymore, but it does seem like he's gone like full MAGA these days. I don't know. It's just um, I think the thing with what Asmongold has taught me is that politics is like you can't just have politics is complicated, and people who talk about politics like it's not complicated probably shouldn't be taken seriously. And this goes on all sides. And I think a lot of people have made a career have made a career of talking about politics like it's not complicated. Um, but politics is very complicated, and it requires a lot of research, and it requires expertise, and most people don't have that and don't do that. And when you hear people talk, you realize, oh, these people just like truly don't. They think that just because they have a reaction to something means that their take is worth listening to. And it just doesn't work like that. And that's one of the reasons why I don't engage with politics that much on the internet anymore, because most people are just talking shit. Most people are literally just saying shit that's not based on anything. um like you don't get to do that. You need to know what you're talking about. Like you need to know the context and the facts surrounding the things that you're talking about. You don't get to just say shit. I mean, I guess you do get to, but we shouldn't take people like that seriously. And this goes for, left-wing creators. This goes for everybody. Everybody is just saying shit. There are very few people who are actually like research-based and expertise-based in the things that they say. We just see something and we react to it. And just because you have a reaction doesn't mean that it's valid. So I don't know. I think Asmongo is a really good example of that, because that guy doesn't research anything. I think he barely has any real understanding of what's going on in the world. He just thinks that because he feels a way, then it's worth saying. And I don't want to single out Asmongold, but that's just who the question was about, because that's something I've realized about political commentators in general. Everyone is just saying shit, just talking shit. Doxing sucks, but also people have the right to share their own experiences. Yeah, I don't know the level of what's going on. Like, I don't know if people should be doxing people to a certain level. Like, what kind of, are they like giving people's like home addresses and shit? Johnny, thank you for the 5. Tokusatsu special effects is the word for things like Power Ranger, Godzilla, or Cyber Squad. I recommend Ultraman. It's all on Prime and YouTube. Interesting. I didn't know that they had a name for that. What's the worst topping you can add to toast? The worst topping? I don't know. I'm thinking a bunch of stuff, and everything I'm thinking of would probably be good. For me, the worst topping is olives because that's the worst topping on anything. Do I enjoy the Legion of Skanks podcast? I don't know. I'd never heard of that. If you like possessive, sadistic yandere who will protect you from the temptations of the flesh, then I would be the best ship girl to stand. Cool. I don't think that's my jam. I don't think the Amazing Atheist realized exactly how influential he was. Possibly. I think that a big issue with a lot of those people is that they downplayed the impact that they had on their audiences. And that's something that I've talked about for a long time, is having an audience is a responsibility, and especially the larger your audience is, the larger your audience is, the larger responsibility is to, you know, not influence them to be shitty. Do you think he got the ball rolling on that, or do you think the audience was out there and he grifted into it? We don't have to keep talking about it if you don't want to. I don't care what we talk about. I don't know who got the ball rolling, really. Like I said, I don't really know the timeline. But I know that he influenced people and his audience grew as a result. Couldn't agree more. Zelda is mine as well. Yeah, I love Zelda. Asmongold's become more right leaning since he started cleaning his room. Maybe Jordan Peterson was onto something. I used to watch Asmon back before he picked up the grift. Yeah, I don't know. I think people throw the word grifter around a little too loosely. I don't really like to use the word grifter. I just think people are weird and misguided. Because Asmongold doesn't really have any need to grift. Like, he's got plenty of money. But yeah, I used to be an Asmongold fan. It's like I've been following Asmongold since he did purely World of Warcraft content. And throughout the years, he usually had pretty good takes on things. Like, he's clearly a smart guy. But you know, he fell into a edgy contrarian. I think this happens a lot with people. It happened to me at one point in my life. I would think that Asmongold is a little too old to fall into this, but you know, that's how it goes. But you know, I fell into the idea where, like, you get to a point where you realize, oh, there's a lot of bullshit going on in the world. There's a lot of conspiracies. The government lies all the time. It's like the world kind of sucks. And so you get into this point where it's like, well, if that's true, then maybe every single thing that I'm told is a lie. And maybe I shouldn't trust anyone. And then when a guy like Trump comes along, Trump is the guy who is basically telling those types of people that they're right. And so they like hearing that they're right. And so then they kind of follow this guy. It's like sort of basic sort of demagoguery, cult leader type stuff. Opinion on showing someone Mystery Science Theater 3000 for the first time. My girlfriend has never watched it. I think she might like it. Have you seen any of it? I could recommend a good introduction for her. I've seen that show for sure. I feel like any episode is as good as any other. I don't know what advice you need. Just show it. Just show it to her and see if she likes it. I think it might be the type of show that you need to watch for a while. Maybe if you watch it cold one episode, it might be kind of weird. Like, what the hell is this? But I think it's genuinely funny. So I feel like if you show it to someone, they'll be like, "Oh, this is funny." Asman is what I like to call a professional yapper. He's someone who says a lot of things, yet says a lot about things he has no expertise in. Yeah, but I think that's what like most commentators are these days. And it's okay if you're doing that about a video game or about just random shit, but when you're doing that about politics and things that actually like affects people's lives and like influences how people treat each other, that becomes a problem. How tall are you? Handsome mofo. I appreciate the compliment. How tall am I? I'm 5'11". I used to tell everyone that I was 6 feet tall, which I think everybody who's 5'11" does. But I decided I'm going to start telling the truth. I'm like 5'11" and a half. But my hair kind of makes me look like I'm 6 feet. You nailed it. T was a thing where women could anonymously create profiles of toxic men, so a bunch of 4chaners hacked it and doxed their info. Oh, I didn't realize that's what happened. I thought the women were doxing people. Legion of Skanks is a comedy podcast where they don't let intrusive thoughts not be shared. Interesting. I'd have to check it out. Hassan thinks Asman does it because he likes the attention and praise. He believes it's for the same reason as you, because Asman already has a boatload of money. I guess. I mean, I think Hassan is like a left-wing version of Asman, though. In many ways. The traditional definition of a grifter is someone attempting to sell you something that they know is snake oil, which is an apt description for right-wing propagandists who know they're lying. I think that Asmongold thinks that he's based though, and I think people like that think that they're spitting. But yeah, I don't know. It's just too easy to assume that all these people are just these evil geniuses that are like trying to trick people. I think that they're drinking their own Kool-Aid. I'm not falling into the zero trust trap, but I do think flat earthers and debunkers are secretly in cahoots. You're a sitcom guy, right? Between the dwindling number of sitcoms and fewer mid-budget comedies out of Hollywood, what do you think the erosion of corp funding for this content says about comedy? What does it say about comedy? I don't think it says anything about comedy. It says something about Hollywood. Comedies just don't make money. Or they don't make the kind of money that modern day studios want. And that sucks. I think if they still made sitcoms and still made comedies, people would watch them. But you're not gonna make $1 billion on a comedy movie. It's just not gonna happen, unless you really get lucky and release The Hangover or something, which, um, that's like a lightning in a bottle type of situation. And unfortunately, and I think a lot of it is due to Marvel, which, as a Marvel fan, I have to contend with the fact that Marvel kind of ruined cinema. But movie studios realize, oh, we can make billions of dollars if we just only make blockbuster, big budget movies. And with TV, I don't even really know what's going on with TV. Um, it seems like a lot of people are not, less people are watching network TV in general. And then we have all the streamers, but people don't watch TV like they used to. So that kind of like the old school sitcom format, I think, relied upon the idea of people tuning in once a week to watch the new episode of a show. And since most people don't really interact with shows like that anymore, but the thing is, like, do we not interact with that just because is that we're not presented shows like that anymore? If they still made shows like that, maybe we'd still do it. I don't know. I'm also 5'11", and all my friends in college told me to start saying I was 6 even. I started telling people I was 5'8". I'm 5'9", average height king, and I'm fine with that. Yeah, I think isn't 5'9" above average? I thought like 5'7" or something was average. I could be wrong though. In the spirit of what you said about Asmongold, given that MAGA was mostly bolstered by people like him and the podcast bros, what do we do as a society about people like this? What do we do as a society? I don't know. Um, I'm very pessimistic about human society, honestly. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm fully sorry, but um to me, the fact that we made Donald Trump the president twice is that's a very, very bad um precedent. Like, I think we're just screwed. We're just kind of dumb. I don't really know what to do about that. Because even if Trump goes away, like I assume he has to die at some point. The people that voted for him are still going to be here. Like, the people who thought that was a good idea, they're still going to be around. So they're probably going to continue to make dumb choices. Um, and that, that's just one of many dumb choices. I'm sure that I make dumb choices as well, and we all make dumb choices. I think humans are just kind of dumb. I think Hassan is just a left wing version of a doomer. Guy can't shut up about how every terrible thing Trump is doing right now would also be happening if Kamala won, which is obviously BS. Uh, yes, and I hesitate to really individually talk about specific people because that's not really a type of content I want to do. I don't know any of these people in real life. They might be. In fact, I'm probably sure. I bet that both Asmongold and Hassan are very decent people in real life. But when you got a camera on you. But yeah, I think as we were talking about before with the Amazing Atheist, these people have audiences. They have very large audiences that are influenced by them, extremely, extremely influenced by them, and they say a bunch of weird shit that actually affects the world. I think it affects how people treat each other, and it affects the world. I think Hassan, for example, probably both Hassan and Asmongold had a measurable impact on how many votes Donald Trump got and how many votes Kamala Harris did not get. And I think that they should take that seriously. Do you think Borderlands would have worked better as a TV show than a movie? No clue. I haven't seen the movie. You might be missing some questions if you have top messages on instead of all messages. I have all messages on. But yeah, sometimes the chat just moves fast, and honestly, sometimes I just don't feel like answering certain questions. But I think I'm answering most of the questions. Like I say, about 80%. You can try asking the question again if you want, if you think I missed it. Since 2018, the percentage of American boys who believe in gender equality has nosedived around 15 to 18%. I know the manosphere is a contributing factor, but what other factors do you think contribute? Who believe in gender equality in terms of the belief that men and women should be equal? I think gender equality is kind of a nebulous statement. I think you need to be more specific. You're saying that 15% of American boys don't believe that the genders are equal? That seems unlikely. There's a black sitcom in the style of classic sitcoms that has several seasons on Netflix called The Upshaws. That's pretty fun. I think there's a lot of sitcoms on streamers that I missed that I don't know about. I need to check them out. Fair enough, different hosts and stuff. I was leaning towards the movie, possibly. I just introduced her to King of Hill, and she loved it. Oh yeah, I guess there are different hosts, but I like both. I like both hosts, so I don't know. Have you seen Gavin Newsom trolling Trump by talking in all caps on Twitter like he does? I did not see that. I do not go on Twitter anymore, but that's funny. She's a keeper, I think. There you go. I also love King of the Hill, so I respect that. I haven't watched the reboot yet. I need to catch up on that. I'm behind on so much media. Johnny, thank you for the 2. What was your favorite Fox Kids show growing up? Fox Kids. I'm trying to remember what was on Fox Kids. Was the X-Men cartoon on Fox Kids? Or was that something else? Or did that precede the idea of Fox Kids? Hold on, let me look it up. Apparently, it wasn't on there. Hold on. List of programs broadcast by Fox Kids. Oh, I can probably show you guys. Seventh Heaven. What the hell? That was on Fox Kids? I don't know if this is every single one. Oh, that's Australia. I need to go to the United States. Because that's where I live. I remember The Tick. That was awesome. So this was like... I mean, I remember watching some of these shows. Goosebumps, Animaniacs for sure. That was good. I guess I'm going to say Batman the Animated Series. That's my favorite ones of the ones that I can see on this list. I couldn't remember if X-Men was on there. The MAGA folk could be said to be in a bubble, but for better or worse, they built a strong community. It's less bubble, more balkanization, and we know how well balkanization goes. I mean, the one thing that the right is good at and is way better than the left at is unifying and building community. The left is real bad at that. I'm being discriminated against in my job search because I watch you. Also, I'm a sex offender. Are you doing a bit? I don't think I get it. I think that's a better question asked instead of what do we do? Instead of what do we do is what can we do? All I can say is be better. Just we all we can do is individually be better people and treat each other better. And don't fall into the trap of oversimplifying the world and talking about things. First of all, let's not, if we don't know what we're talking about, let's not talk. Like, if you haven't studied up on something, if you don't know the facts surrounding a situation, you're allowed to have an opinion. Just recognize that your opinion is ill-informed, and you probably shouldn't say it out loud in most cases. But beyond that, we should just treat each other better and remember that humans can't be put into boxes of the good guys and the bad guys. The reboot is fantastic. That's good to know. Oh, X-Men was on the list. I didn't see it. Might depend on the but I used to love the X-Men cartoon when I was a kid. That was my jam. That was probably my favorite cartoon growing up, was the X-Men cartoon. If the Equal Rights Amendment passed in the 1970s like it was supposed to, do you think Americans would be more supportive of female empowerment? I don't know. It seems like we've regressed on a lot of the things that we thought that we solved. So maybe it would have maybe temporarily, but we seem to be regressing in many ways, or at least maybe not regressing, but it seems that a lot of those regressive viewpoints have been hidden, never went away. We just didn't know about it. A survey of 8th and 10th graders was asked statements such as men and women should be paid the same money if they do the same work, and a woman should have the same job opportunities as a man. I'll have to yeah, I mean, if these kids are actually don't believe these things, I don't really know why. Outside of just internet culture. I mean, maybe it is just internet culture. And also, like, these people are being influenced by their families and parents and stuff. A lot of people are religious. Most religions don't believe in gender equality. At least most popular religions. So we were talking about discipline earlier. I should probably go to the gym. I'll try to catch the next one. All right. Have fun. Good luck. I don't doubt that fewer boys believe in gender equality, but is it like, are you saying that it's 15 to 18% fewer or 15 to 18% total? Because that's wild if true. How do I feel about horticulture? I think it's fine. X-Men has a special place in my heart. Fox Kids commercialed hard, and I definitely bought a lot of X-Men, Power Rangers, and Beetleborgs toys as a kid. Oh, absolutely. The X-Men cartoon got me into comic books. And I think it's the whole, the X-Men cartoon is the reason why I'm a MCU fanboy right now. But I really got into comic books as a kid mostly because of X-Men, a little bit because of the Spider-Man cartoon. And, they made a bunch of superhero cartoons back then. But particularly X-Men and Spider-Man were the ones that I watched a lot. And from there, I started reading comic books and stuff. And I was into comic books pretty much all throughout high school and college, but I kind of fell off during college. But then they started making movies, and I'm back in. And I want to get back into comics. I'm thinking about starting to read comics again. Although I know you can read them online, but I want the physical comic books. Can you still get comic book subscriptions? Like, can you still sign up for them to like mail comic books to your house? Is that still a thing you can do? Because I would like that. Yeah, I've heard of the monitoring the future studies. In fact, I think I looked at one recently. I didn't remember that specific statistic though. Thanks for the stream. Really had a good time. We'll be back next time. All right, appreciate you for stopping by. In fact, I think I posted a monitoring the future study. Maybe it was that, and I just don't remember. How do you feel about X-Men Evolution? X-Men Evolution was good, but nowhere near as good as the 90s X-Men cartoon. Oh, I feel like I posted one of those studies. Okay, yeah. So I posted one on Facebook. I think what threw me off is when you said 15 to 18%, but you meant 15 to 18% less. I thought you were saying 15 total. 15% total. Because yeah, I have heard of I've heard of these studies, but I was like, there's no way it's that low. But yeah, I totally believe it's 15% lower, 100%. Because red pill has become such a big thing. The internet culture is out of control, and I think religious indoctrination is still a thing. Yeah. Would you rather have teeth for hair or hair for teeth? Teeth for hair for sure. Having hair in my mouth at all times would be terrible. I barely like having a mustache. It gets pretty annoying. But I'm not sure that I would look as good without it. And sometimes the mustache kind of curls over the lip, and I absolutely hate it. I don't see how people have big beards that cover their lips. That's so annoying to me. I think we're already living in the idiocracy times. Just look at all the people who have Chat GPT doing everything for them instead of actually studying or putting in the work themselves. I mean, I think we're in idiocracy for many reasons. Um, None the least of which that the president is a WWE Hall of Famer. Did you know Spider-Man was voiced by Prince Eric from The Little Mermaid for the Fox Kids show? I did not know that. That's an interesting fact. What country do you think could take up the mantle as leader of the free world while America is entering its isolationist phase? I don't know. Um, I'm not super familiar with other heads of state. I'm not sure which ones are based or not. Maybe like Canada or New Zealand or something, or like Uruguay. Did you watch X-Men 97? I just started it. I've been behind on that. There's a lot of things I need to catch back up on. I've watched like 2 episodes. What is the role you see for AI in the future, assuming it evolves and gets better? Well, as I've implied in the stream, I don't really trust humans or especially corporations to use AI in a ethical and useful way. I think they're just going to try to extract as much money as possible out of it. So, I mean, it's probably just going to get more and more problematic as time goes on. But there's potential for AI to be amazing. AI can help us do a lot of really useful things, like it can help us with math equations. It can help us with coding. It can help us with research. It's really amazing for helping you research things. um it can somewhat help with creative ideas, but it's not. The problem is people use AI to create things in the place of them creating them things themselves. But when you use it as a tool for inspiration, I think that it's very useful in that sense. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with AI. You can, like, for example, one thing that I've been looking into recently is you can use ChatGPT to help you practice learning a language, like because you can literally talk. Like if you want to learn Spanish, you can tell ChatGPT, I'm trying to learn Spanish. Can you please talk to me in Spanish? And it'll do it. And you can just simulate having a Spanish conversation with someone. Like stuff like that is really cool to me. But you know, corporation's gonna corporate, so it's probably not gonna go as well as we wanted to do. There's already been a controversy with ChatGPT where I think they're starting to roll things back because of all the complaints they're getting. But I don't know if you guys follow this, but ChatGPT recently, like what you used to be able to do is you could choose which version of ChatGPT you wanted to use because they're better. Different ones are better at different things. Some of them are better at like being human. Some of them are better at math and coding. So if it's like, well, I'm gonna choose ChatGPT 4, it's a little bit better than ChatGPT 5. They took that away. They're starting to roll it back now, but they took that away and they made it so that ChatGPT itself chooses which version to use. And people quickly realized that it's basically always choosing the one that costs them the least amount of money. Which is frequently not the best one for the thing that you want. And I expect to see more stuff like that. But like I said, they are starting to roll it back because so many people have complained. They've added back a lot of those choices, but it's still not what it used to be. Okay, I will not let that. I will not that lie slide. The president's stunt double is the WWE Hall of Famer, not Trump himself. I guess whatever helps you sleep at night. Uh, Jokes aside, China's been having a field day courting other countries with Trump going rogue. Yeah, it's funny how Trump got elected on talking shit about China, among other things, but one of his major things was he's going to stick it to China. And it just seems like China's just being emboldened by everything that's happening. With rampant cheating happening because of AI, is higher education cooked? I mean, not necessarily. I think education in our academic system has been pretty inefficient the whole time. I think they're just going to have to adapt. Will they adapt? I don't know, but can they adapt? I think they can. I welcome our AI overlords at this point. Humanity needs a superior intelligence to babysit and keep us from destroying ourselves. I mean, we need AI to be way smarter for that to happen. But I don't know. Every time we've done a movie about this, the AI realizes that humans are trash and need to be destroyed. So if they get smart enough to realize how ridiculous humans are, it might not be good for us. When's the last time you were excited about new technology? It's probably about 10 years for me. I honestly, when the large language models first came out, that was like the first time I felt like I was in the future. I was like, what the hell is going on? This is crazy. Of course, over time, we realized all of the problems with large language models. But I think it's still a really interesting and exciting technology. We just got to hope that they figure out ethical ways to do it. I like how AI gives me the ability to goon in ways I never would have imagined before. So far, I see it's valuable for research and collecting, analyzing massive amounts of factual information, but not great at being creative. Yeah, it's not great at being creative, but it's good. It's good at inspiring creativity, in my opinion. Like, for example, I use ChatGPT to help me come up with titles for my videos, and I never use any of the titles that it suggests. It always suggests really bad titles, but sometimes it'll say something and I'll be like, "Oh, that makes me think of this actually decent title." And I don't think it's possible I would not have thought about that without that spark of instant sort of, you know, AI garbage suggestions. It's kind of like having a room full of people giving you suggestions, except you just have to type it into your computer. I never would have discovered I'm a lesbian with AI role plays. Is that true, or are you doing a bit? I wonder if they rolled out the ChatGPT update because the girl who fell in love with her psychiatrist blew up on TikTok and created backlash. Well, in some cases, they're in between a rock and a hard place, because I remember just like a few months ago, I saw so many people complaining about how how hard ChatGPT tried to be human. And people were like, I hate how this thing is always complimenting me and using emojis and like making jokes and stuff. I just want it to be more like a robot. And then they made it more like a robot, and people were like, I liked it better when it was nice to me. It's like, okay. On gender equality, I think what the conservatives are saying is that women can't do everything a man do. Like, say, deep sea fishing. I think they believe you should be paid equally for work, though. Well, it depends. Because I think one of the questions was, should they be paid equally for the same work? Some people don't believe that. And sometimes it's not the same work, but it's similar work or comparable work. Like, I've made this comparison before, but female dominated jobs almost always get paid less than male dominated jobs, by and large. There are probably some exceptions. And if you take something like, for example, being a nurse, in order to be a nurse, you have to go to nursing school. You have to do a lot of work. It's a strenuous job with long hours, and you have to do a lot of school to become a nurse. However, nurses still get paid less than engineers. And engineers, you have to go to school, arguably less school, but even if it's about the same amount of school, and even if we say it's the same amount of work, but engineering is a male-dominated job, and they get paid way more than nurses do. It's not the same job, but I would say at the very least, they're equally important to society. You could argue that one is more or less equal to society, but they're about the same equality. Sorry, my Facebook went off. But that's just an example. And if you talk to most conservatives, I don't think any of them would have a problem with the fact that engineers make more money than nurses do. So there's just like little nuances like that I think people don't think about and don't talk about. And there's lots of other things. You know, like women are usually the primary caretakers in the household. So if a man and a woman have a child, a woman will usually be the one that has to take off work and things like that, which affects how much they get paid. And because of that, they often get paid less to begin with because employers assume that they're going to be less valuable to the job. You know, there's a lot of stuff like that. It's not simple. What do you think will happen to artists and therapists in relation to AI? I don't know. We have to see. As of right now, I don't think that artists and therapists' jobs are in danger as of right now. We'll see going forward. I mean, you know, a lot of times with these conversations, I think we're missing the forest for the trees. The real problem is that people shouldn't have to work to stay alive. People should be able to do art because they love doing art, not just because they need money. So even if people were quote unquote replaced by AI, it shouldn't be a problem because we shouldn't need our jobs to stay alive. But you know, that's a much bigger, grander problem than AI. But the AI problem is not going to be solved unless we solve that problem. Because in general, I'm in favor of the advancement of technology. I don't think that we should halt the advancement of technology. But assuming that the advancement of technology is going to cause is going to make certain human jobs obsolete, then we should also have a solution to that problem before we do this. I see too many WWE fans wanting Vince back, not just with the trafficking allegations, but his booking decisions the last couple of years have made me turn off the TV. Do people want Vince back? Is that true? I feel like it's been pretty clear that it's been better without him. Like I feel like it's noticeably better. At least in terms of the product. Maybe some of the business decisions are weird. I don't like AI. Have you seen the Orville? The AI literally killed all their species. I actually haven't seen the Orville. That's a show that I want to watch. I never met any conservative feel that anyone should be paid less based on gender, only that there's certain work better suited for either men or women. True. I mean, yeah, but like I was saying, even if that's true, the ones that are suited for women are usually paid less, and that's a problem. But I don't. I guess you're not disagreeing with that. Speaking of engineers, have you heard Mudahar has been lying about being an engineer for years? I don't know anything about that. I don't think therapists are going to go anywhere. I think people will miss the human touch too much, but artists may go through a rough period like how everyone loves CGI for a while. I mean, I think CGI is still art, but um I don't know. I think I haven't seen any AI art that was anywhere near as good as human art. So, AI can sort of approximate human art and it can look good, but I don't think AI is creative. It never makes anything. Like, have you ever seen an AI created image that moved you, or like AI created anything, image, video? Usually it just kind of creeps me out a little bit. I don't think AI is very good at making art. Maybe they will be at some point, but I don't think they are now. They're good at copying human art, but I don't think they're good at creating original art. And it's like almost always obvious when art is AI created. And, maybe you just have to be. I mean, probably most people here have been around the internet and are of the age where they can tell when things are AI created. I think it's kind of interesting that certain people can't, like older people can't. But it's usually pretty obvious when art is AI created, even if it looks good. An engineer is also more dangerous work than a nurse. I mean, in some ways. I work in a shop that has a woman engineer. Yeah, of course there are. I didn't say that 100% of engineers are nurses or men, but it is true that it is male dominated, and it is true that nurses are women dominated. Like, that's all I said, and those are true statements. And that's just an example. In almost every case, uh, jobs that are women dominated are paid less than jobs that are male dominated. Like, if you tallied up the aggregate of all jobs that are significantly dominated by gender, the women dominated ones would be paid less almost every time. And you could factor in how dangerous something is, but something being dangerous is just one factor in whether or not it is valuable to society. If you live in a high fantasy setting, which fictional fantasy race would you want to be, and who would you marry? Uh, Honestly, whenever I play like fantasy games, I always pick humans. I don't know if that's uh basic of me, but I don't know. I guess I'm biased to humans. Women getting paid less than men is due to a long-standing bias, but a lot of it has to do with the way women are taught to behave, be compliant, non-forceful, nice, not authoritative. That's also true. Um, like one of the reasons that women don't get paid as much as men is because they're less likely to ask for raises or ask for promotions and stuff like that. But it's not also the reason that women are taught to behave this way is because they are punished when they behave this way, which I think is what you're getting at. I think human art is superior, but I guess my pessimism for society leads me to the conclusion that people who would typically purchase art will go for ease over quality. Um, in some case, it's not even the people who purchase art; it's the people who sell art. I think that's the bigger problem. Like, they're already making completely AI generated commercials, and they're really weird and bad. But I don't think that they care that it's weird and bad. All they care is if it works for selling their product. And that's the problem. Like, we can say that we don't like it and it's weird and bad, but as long as it accomplishes the goal that they're trying to do. But like, are people gonna go to the store and buy an AI generated like wall art or something? Maybe. Um, Especially if you're like a boomer who can't tell the difference. But I wouldn't do that. It just wouldn't be that cool. It would be. It's like, this is bland and creepy. But maybe. But again, in the future, AI art is gonna get better. So, maybe it will start uh becoming better. I know for in certain areas, like for example, if you wanted like a picture of the Mona Lisa, except the Mona Lisa is a dog, AI could probably make that and make it look pretty good. So if you wanted something like that, I guess. But I don't know. It's interesting to think about for sure. Do you think there would be less humans and more animals in the world if firearms were never invented? Um, I don't know. I think humans would find a way to survive, but I know a lot of animals were hunted to extinction. But I feel like we would do that regardless, even if we didn't have firearms. If you had to run from the cops to buy time to prove you're innocent, but you risk getting caught before and doing more time, what would you do? And do you think the justice system is faulty? I mean, this is a complicated question. In general, it's probably a bad idea to run from the cops. I don't think that helps you. Um, but the justice system, you never know if the justice system is going to work for you or not. It's kind of a flip of the coin. But I generally think that running from the cops can only make it worse. Most WWE fans are upset over TKO business decision and feel that Vince wouldn't have done the same thing. I mean, I don't think Vince would have done the same thing either, but the show would be worse if Vince was in charge. How many state capitals have you visited? For me, it's only 6. Probably not that many. Probably less than 5. I've been to a lot of states, but not a lot of state capitals. Um, I'm trying to even remember the state capitals. This is taking me back to like 10th grade U.S. history class. Um, Actually, before I think it's probably learned the capitals in elementary school, but um, yeah, because I mean the capitals are often not the cities that you visit. You know, like I live in Alabama. The capital of Alabama is Montgomery. Nobody goes to Montgomery. And the same thing. It's like, um, the capital of like the capital of North Carolina is Raleigh, right? Does anybody go to Raleigh? I've never heard of anyone going to Raleigh. So I've been to I've been to various cities, especially ones in the South and East Coast, but most of them have not been the state capitals as far as I can remember. By the way, I loved your Daria videos. They were really good. Do you think it could ever come back or maybe a show? I guess it could come back. They've rebooted both Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill, so it could come back. I'm not sure if I think it should though, because I think the thing about Daria was it really captured a sort of late 90s Gen X aesthetic. It was really about that sort of young Gen X attitude. And it was just a period piece almost. It was about a certain generation, and if they brought it back now, it just would not be the same. It couldn't be the same. So I don't know if they need to do that. But they're rebooting a lot of stuff, so you never know. I think, I was interested when they were talking about making the Jodie spinoff, because if they spin off a different character, it could be a completely different type of show. It doesn't need to be about Daria. And maybe that could work. But they sort of can that. And something I've learned, I don't know if you guys know this, but something I've learned since making those videos, because people have contacted me, is like they actually fully made the movie. They fully made the Jodie movie. Like it's finished. They made it. But as studios do, if they don't think they're going to make money off of it, they refuse to release it and write it on their like taxes as a business loss so they can get, tax relief. But yeah, I talked to one or two people who said that they worked on that movie and it was done. Do you think America, Canada, and Mexico will combine to form one nation in the future? I don't see why. Why would that happen? If it's dangerous, it makes it more expensive. Otherwise, no one would do the job. School bus drivers, for example, a high paying job that is equal, but there's not a lot of women truck drivers. Is the school bus driver a high paying job? Not really. Average annual salary for a school bus driver is $41,000. I wouldn't describe that as a high paying job. Our drivers start at $18.36 an hour, according to Reddit. Um, that's like a pretty average paying job. Uh, And also, I don't know that men and women bus drivers are paid equally, but since those are usually city jobs, it might be there might be a standard of pay. But I know a lot of corporate jobs, everyone sort of negotiates their own salary. And so one person might get paid something completely different than another person in the same job. I now want a portrait of the Mona Lisa as a moose. Well, you can type it into ChatGPT and they'll make it for you. Do I have a favorite 90s sitcom? My favorite 90s sitcom? My favorite 90s sitcom is probably Boy Meets World. I wouldn't say that Boy Meets World is the best 90s sitcom, but it's probably the one with which I have the most nostalgic fondness. But there are a lot of great 90s sitcoms. For example, Roseanne, I think, is probably one of the best 90s sitcoms. I love Seinfeld and Friends. I love a lot of shows. The Nanny, Mad About You, Martin, Living Single, A Different World. That's 90s, right? I think it started in the 80s, but I went through to the 90s. Or maybe it started in the 90s. I can't remember. I love The Cosby Show, but I guess that's more of an 80s sitcom. Antis Buster, thank you for the 5. Hope you're having a great Friday. Question: Where the T? A lot of people put TJ1. I don't know if that's a typo. T1J Follow Me sound bit comes from. It is from a game called Oddworld: Abe's Odyssey. Very good. Well, Oddworld is a series, but the first one, Oddworld: Abe's Odyssey, I think it was on PlayStation, the original PlayStation. Very good game, and it's just a sound from that game. I can hold on. Let me see if I can find it. It's it was like, so you could like the game was you would like talk to people and give commands to people, and then they would do what you wanted them to do so you could beat the game. And one of the commands that you could give was follow me. Wait, this is wrong.
Hello. Hello. Follow me. Okay.
So yeah, cool game.
Well,
Do you think destroying the population of entire world could be justified if they were going around annihilating and enslaving species from other worlds? That's a heavy question. I don't think that I or any individual is qualified to answer a question like that. Um, I generally it's generally hard for me to justify capital punishment for anything. I just don't believe in it. I don't believe in killing people as a form of punishment, or I just don't. Yeah, could you? And for example, like in that case, I would be very hesitant to believe that the entire population is complicit in that. It's probably just the example, or it's probably just the leadership that's doing something like that. So I highly doubt it. Have I seen any of the Hunter Biden interviews on Channel 5? I actually have. Hunter Biden's kind of based. Yeah, it's interesting because I'd always hear about Hunter Biden, but I'd never seen him or heard him speak before that. And as expected, he's just a normal dude. He's not the whacked out crazy person that certain people tried to make him out to be. He's just a normal dude that had some issues in his life, and he's working to get past them. And that's how most people are. Do you still F with any retro games? I haven't played any retro games in a while, but I still love them. I'm still down to play them. Um, I played Melee recently. That's basically a retro game at this point. Will you be doing any gaming streams soon? I would like to. But it would probably earliest would probably be next week. I'm gonna do my Friday stream, hopefully, and then maybe the day after on Saturday I will do some gaming. I want to play Disco Elysium. I think that's gonna be the first game that I play. But I'm very interested in seeing what else people would be interested in watching me play. I'm trying to find like some cool single player games that I could play because I don't play a lot of single player games, and I would like to get more into it. I play a lot of competitive games, but I don't know that people would actually want to watch me like play those, especially since I'm usually not good at them. Yeah, a lot of people have suggested that I play Disco Elysium. I really don't know anything about it, but I know that it's basically universally acclaimed. I guess it's like a really thoughtful game, and people think that someone like me would like it, and I guess that's why people have suggested it. But yeah, I'll check it out. What is a country that has a bad reputation but you are still interested in visiting? Example, POC don't have the most positive experiences about Italy. I feel like people of color don't have very good experiences anywhere in Europe, anywhere in white dominated countries. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Bad reputation. I don't know. I think I don't really know that much about countries' reputation. I know there's a lot of nonsense going on in the UK, and I still want to visit the UK. I'm really interested in visiting the Scandinavian area, like Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. And I've heard that they are also uh, not the friendliest to people of color over there. Same thing with Australia. Like they're super shitty to the indigenous people over there. At least they have been historically. Like the racism that they've been guilty of in Australia rivals the racism in the United States. Disco Elysium is on sale right now. I gotta buy it then. I should probably buy it right now. I wasn't in the right frame of mind to try disco. Ton of reading. Need to try it again sometime. Ton of reading. Fair enough. I wonder if that would be interesting to stream. If people are okay with watching a bunch of text on the screen. I am about probably gonna end the stream here in about 10 to 5 minutes though, or 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll read a few more comments. Thanks for hanging out as always. But yeah, I want to look into I don't know, what are some other like really good single player games that would be like I think it would be best to play like a story driven game that has like a beginning and an ending. Like I know there are games that are designed to be played like over and over again, like roguelikes and stuff like that. I was like, I don't know if that's good for streaming. Or at least not for the type of stream that I'm trying to do. Like if I was a gaming streamer, then maybe, but I wouldn't. I'm just a guy that's gonna play a game. I also might do some things like I might play some chess sometimes or something like that. There's this claymation game called Harold Halibut that plays much like Telltale. Don't know anything of it, but the story and design of the game seem interesting. Interesting. Haven't heard of that. Have you seen K-pop Demon Hunter? Got so popular that they're already planning 2 sequels. It's a stage show, a TV show, and a live action remake. No, I never heard of that either. K-pop Demon Hunter. That sounds like something that would be popular though. The songs have topped Billboard this summer. I believe it. I think, honestly, I think a hack to making anything popular is to just release a banger song to go along with it. If you release a banger song or two with a movie or with a show or with a video game, that's like, I think that gets you like 50% of the way there. Any games you plan to play during spook season? I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if I can do horror games. I can only do like light horror, but like horror games are. I think I have too much anxiety for horror games. If they're only like a little bit creepy, like I can do like I really like the Little Nightmares games, cause they're not like full of jump scares and like gross stuff. They're just like creepy in a cool way. Like I can do stuff like that, but like just really outright like stuff that's designed to like ruin your day type of horror. Like I can't really do that. Clair Obscura Expedition 33 is a popular and really good single player game though. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that game. I think that's something that I could play as well. Yeah, but I saw some footage of the Clair Obscure game. It looks really awesome. I remember in my old days, back in the day, like for those who don't know, I actually have a gaming channel that I don't use, and on that channel, I attempted a playthrough of Silent Hill, and I like literally couldn't do it. It was like too. It was too much. It was too creepy. I highly recommend Killer Frequency. You're a host of a radio talk show and have to solve puzzles while a killer is out. Interesting. I do like puzzles. A lot of horror games do have puzzles, which I enjoy. I just don't like jump scares and I don't like extreme like gore. Would you want your favorite artist band to play the Super Bowl or would you not want them to protect their reputation? To protect their reputation? I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with performing at the Super Bowl. I think it's really cool. I think Super Bowl performances, outside of the whole sort of commercial spectacle of the whole thing, I think the halftime performance at the Super Bowl is a really interesting and cool thing because there's pretty much nothing else like it. So I think it's cool when people I like get to do it. Hello, DJ Zeffy. You're coming in at the tail end of the stream. I'm about to leave soon, but thanks for stopping by. You mentioned Roseanne the sitcom earlier. What do you think of Roseanne the human in 2025? The only reason she's relatively on my radar is from the YouTube video from Queen Coke Francis. I've never seen that video, but I have very complicated thoughts about Roseanne the person. I might even make a video about it someday. Um, Obviously she's really fully like MAGA right now, which I think is bad. I think the whole Trump and MAGA movement is a bad thing that should go away. But I also think that she's lashing out because she was treated pretty unfairly by the general public and by the media. In general, I don't think that a person should lose their entire career and livelihood off of one tweet, which is basically what happened to her. I think it's pretty sad that that happened to her. I also think that people were very uncharitable to her during that situation. But the way that she reacted to it in the pretty much the worst way possible. Um, like I don't. This is something I never really understood. Well, I do understand. I was gonna say I don't understand, but I do understand because I've been through that sort of thing before. You know, it's like when you like, for example, with me, I've always been, a progressive person. But when I used to hang out on Tumblr and I used to see all those like super obnoxious, super like mean and rude and uncharitable sort of left-wing feminist people, that like made me not want to be part of their group. So you can be pushed to the other side when you interact with like people who treat you poorly. I don't think that's good, but it can happen. And the same thing when the anti woke movement started being a thing, when Trump came out, that started pushing me like way to the left because I was like, I don't want to be anywhere near these people. So I understand why people react that way, where it's like all of these sort of woke scolds and like overly sensitive people are treating me poorly. I'm gonna go in the extreme opposite direction, but it's not good when the direction that you're going in is a bad direction. So I think that she reacted in the worst way possible, but I also think that she was treated pretty unfairly and that she didn't necessarily deserve what happened to her. She made a mean joke about a lady, like, yeah, don't be mean, don't be an asshole, but do you deserve to lose your entire career and get your character killed off your show because you were mean to somebody one time? I don't know, man. Roseanne deserves her praises. I mean, for me, Roseanne helped create one of the best sitcoms ever. That's basically my view of Roseanne's work. I was never a big fan of her stand up. Um, Most of the other stuff that she made, I didn't really follow, but the show Roseanne is genius. A bad performance on the biggest stage can sometimes hurt an artist, I guess, but that's why you get good performers, you know? So I guess if I had an artist that I knew was likely to not give a good performance, and yeah, maybe don't do that. But I think one of the skills um of being a popular of being a musical star is learning how to put on a good performance, you know. She turned a serious car accident and head trauma into a comedy career, then landed her sitcom. She's always had an edge. It hasn't aged well, but she's been honest about who she is from the go. Yeah, I mean, she's always been edgy for sure, and it's always been weird. Like, do y'all remember when she made that photo of her dressed like Hitler and pulling like gingerbread people out of the oven? It's like, that's weird, bro. But that's Roseanne. And apparently she was she was kind of hard to work with from what I understand, which is unfortunately true of some creatively brilliant people. Um, what other sitcoms do you think have high quality writing? I'm with you on Roseanne, the show being a standout. She was heavily involved in the writing. Yeah. Um, Sometimes apparently to a controlling extent. Um, Other shows with high quality writing. Other shows from that era, I don't know. I'm immediately thinking of more modern shows like Community and 30 Rock. Those are like brilliantly written shows. Parks and Rec. I'm trying to think of other shows from that era. Um, it's hard to think of one that is comparable. The Wonder Years. Like, there are a lot of shows that I love, like Friends and Seinfeld and Boy Meets World and Mad About You and other stuff, but I don't think any of them are as good as Roseanne in terms of the writing. Um, I don't know. That show's just so good. I'm trying to think of me. It's hard to think of one that's as good. Cheers. Like I'm trying to think of '90s shows. It's weird. I can't think of another '90s show. I'm thinking of '80s shows and 2000 shows. Like Cheers is definitely as good as Roseanne. The Cosby Show. Third Rock from the Sun. That's a good one. Yeah. Malcolm in the Middle is really good. Yeah. I finally caught you live. Unfortunately, I'm gonna be leaving soon, but thanks for showing up. I've had a crush on him for like 10 years. Well, that's sweet. It's flattering. The Wonder Years remake. I didn't watch the Wonder Years remake. Was it any good? But yeah, I might make a video about Roseanne because yeah, I don't know. I feel like she got done dirty. She just reacted to it in the worst possible way. Yeah, I hesitated to say Wonder Years because I'm not sure if I would consider the Wonder Years a sitcom. It's more of a comedy drama. And obviously there's a line because uh, Roseanne itself is very dramatic. But the way that I differentiate is the show mostly about jokes or mostly about the story? And I think Roseanne is mostly about jokes. And I think The Wonder Years is mostly about the story. Obviously there's elements of both in both of them, but it's a nebulous distinction. I think probably, people might disagree. Is On Cinema at the Cinema considered a sitcom? If so, that's my number one. I guess it would be, right? I don't know. Maybe it's not a sitcom because sitcoms include situations, but there's not that many situations on that, is there? Or maybe there is. I haven't seen. I've only seen like. I don't know if I've even seen a full episode of that, but isn't it just like two guys sitting down? Uh, the Wonder Years remake is pretty solid. It's like a less mean spirited. Everybody hates Chris. Yeah, I was interested in seeing it. I never saw it. I like Everybody Hates Chris too, though. Kind of. It's very long form storytelling and very short episodes. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about like what makes a sitcom a sitcom. And is it the format that makes a sitcom, or is it the subject matter, or some combination of both? Like we were talking about, for example, the show Scrubs. Also very story driven, dramatic show, but also very very goofy. I think I would call Scrubs a sitcom because I think it's mostly about jokes, but they also obviously focus on the story a lot. But then there's shows like I don't know, like She-Hulk, for example. There was a conversation about whether that's a sitcom. I would call that a sitcom. I think it's mostly just designed to be funny, but it's also like a superhero action show, you know? Another good example is MASH. Like there are some episodes of MASH that are just really goofy and funny, and some episodes of MASH where you barely laugh. I think that show just kind of spanned the gamut of being both a sitcom and not a sitcom. Do you prefer small town sitcoms or big city? I don't have a preference. I think um it just depends on the show if it's funny. Like my favorite show, or one of my favorite shows of all time. Oh, I'd say two of my favorite sitcoms of all time are 30 Rock and Parks and Recreation. And I think those shows are often compared to each other because they came out around the same time, and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler connection. But Parks and Recreation is a small town show. It's a show about a small town in Indiana, while 30 Rock takes place in New York City. So, and both shows are great. It's just the centering situational comedy. I think you need to create dramatic irony. Frasier does this the best. Frasier is a great show. Yeah, I think there just has to be situations in the comedy, and it needs to be comedy forward. Obviously, there's many different ways you can do that, but like, for example, a stand-up comedy show is not a sitcom because there are no situations, even though it's comedy forward. Uh, did I get disconnected? Did the audio drop? Well, anyway, I'm about to get to the end of the stream here anyway. I don't know, because something messed up on my end too at the same time that somebody said did the audio drop. So I was wondering if I dropped. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. I think I've been consistent so far for 3 weeks. I'm gonna try to stream every Friday at 6 p.m. Central Time. So mark your calendars, or you can make sure you enable all notifications on the subscription bell if you want to be notified when I'm live. So yeah, come back next week around 6 p.m. Central Time. You can do the conversions to your own time zone, and hopefully next Saturday I will start my gaming stream. I'm gonna start with Disco Elysium because everybody has been telling me that I should play that game. So if you're interested in watching me game, tune in next Saturday. That's the goal, at least. And I'm thinking earlier during the day, around 3 p.m. Central Time. So that's what I'm gonna do. We'll see how it goes. And if you have a different suggestion for games or just any topics or anything, any ideas for the stream, because I'm gonna try to get more consistent with streaming because I like doing it, and most people seem to enjoy it when they're here. But yeah. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. And always, I just want to encourage everybody to remember to be kind to each other. We live in a weird time right now, and I think everyone's just really angry and being mean to each other all the time. And I think just be kind to people. Say hi to your neighbor, smile at people. Do something nice for your grandma, and let's just be kinder to each other. That's all I want to say. And hope you all have a good evening and a good weekend. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.